Okay. Looks like we are back again, live again with another set of Web3 demos. So, as you know, if you've tuned in before, we are Fight Club and BanklessDAO. We bring you Web3 demos every single Wednesday. Basically, we're here to find out what's new, what's hot, what's working in Web3. We're in a builder market, smack dab right in the middle of it. We got developers, community managers, people coming up with all sorts of ideas. And we're trying to find the best of the best and bring them here and present them to you each and every week. For those of you who don't know, BanklessDAO is on a mission to help the world and adopt decentralized services, financial, community, and otherwise. Fight Club is the investment DAO of BanklessDAO, and we have a token-gated deal flow and investment education track that people can access through ownership of our Fight Club NFT. You can find out more at fightclub.vc. We're also brought to you by DAOlationships. DAOlationships is a guild within BanklessDAO, and DAOlationships is all about Web3 relationships, connecting, developing business relationships, and making sure that the wheels are greased within Web3. If you are interested in getting involved in any of what you've heard today, the best stop is DAOlationships. Come on into the BanklessDAO server, get the DAOlationships role, and get contributing today. Just a quick reminder, none of this is financial, investment, legal, tax, or any other kind of advice. We're just here ironing out the kinks and trying to figure out what works. Today, we have a really cool project called Palmera. It is the DAO Orchestrator to manage safes, integrations, automations, and credentials all in one place. If all of that is gibberish to you, you might be in the wrong spot. If you know what any of it meant, then you are definitely in the right spot. These are things that we use on a day-to-day basis, and the making all of it easier to use is, it is a major boon to our existence here in the Web3 space. We're joined by the co-founders. Today, we have Andy Pavia and Jose Ramirez, who are two co-founders of Palmera. So yeah, please go ahead and introduce yourselves, guys.
Awesome. So first of all, we're super excited about having the opportunity to present to Fight Club and BanklessDAO. Maybe super quick intro about ourselves, nothing long. So we're both co-founders. We're both computer scientists, and we've been very passionate about Web3, smart contracts, DAOs, and essentially building software. So we're really excited about having the opportunity to present, and we hope you guys like what we're building.
All right, I'm sure we will. And did you have anything to add to that, Jose?
No, just that yeah, we're really excited to be there, and very excited to show what we've been building for the last 8 months. Hope you like it.
Sweet. All right, let's dive in.
Awesome. Yeah, so as NF Thinker said, so we're Palmera, we're building the DAO Orchestrator. So we essentially provide Web3 organizations a way to manage safes, integrations, automations, and credentials in one place. So before we do that, we want to do a bit of a historical background, kind of a quick overview of the product, then a live demo, and then some of the stuff that we're working in the future. For us, it's super important to get feedback from you guys. If you want to follow along and try the product yourself, you can scan this QR code, or you can just go to your browser and type palmeradao.xyz, and you can see what we're building. Disclaimer, we're still in alpha mode. We're spending a lot of hours, well, honestly, a lot of time in this. So if you have any feedback, if you see anything that could be improved, we would highly appreciate your feedback. And with that being said, the whole team, we believe that essentially the tools that an organization uses and the quality of the output and the productivity are highly correlated. We also believe that DAOs are a new and valuable way of organizing human intelligence in a borderless fashion that has never been done in the history. We are big believers in DAOs, and we're essentially building this because we want to essentially help shape that future. And if we look at the journey of DAO tooling, at the very beginning, the V1, let's say, we had this all-encompassing monolithic framework such as Aragon and Colony that were very opinionated and were very rigid. And they were there at the beginning. They did a good job. That rigidity essentially, as DAOs evolved, became too cumbersome. So then came the next generation, which was essentially the smaller, more focused DAO tools such as Superfluid, Snapshot, Coordinate, Request, ENS. And they got a lot of usage and they solved many problems. However, we have so many tools, and essentially that created a fragmentation of the context. We're trying to put everything together and working with a group that is distributed in terms of jurisdictions, languages, cultures, became really problematic because a lot of the core contributors have to spend a lot of time putting the whole story together to be able to present it in a cohesive state to essentially their members and token holders. And the next generation is the one where we want to lead, which is we are building a dashboarded experience where you can essentially bring in all the composable DAO tools into one place that provides context for your community. So you don't waste a lot of time having to create a bunch of spreadsheets, essentially having to dig a bunch of Discord messages, or expect your community members who might also be doing other stuff to do this themselves, but essentially you can, with our dashboard, put all of that together under modular permission sets so you can get access to the right information to the right people. Additionally, there's been a lot of regulatory pressure without clear liability protection for core contributors and token holders, such as the coordinated attacks that we've seen by different entities. And we also see that from an on-chain perspective, there's more and more DAOs being created, which is very bullish. And we believe that as there's more DAOs out there, there's going to be more competition for capital, which essentially is going to pressure the organizations to figure out how to limit the downside to the token holders and potential other clients or investors or other contributors. So there's going to be a competition there, and we think that for both kind of macro trends, there's going to be a big need for transparency and a bigger need for better governance structures. And what we're building is Palmera, which is a one-stop platform for DAO management and tooling. We are creating a unique decentralization framework that allows you to enable the most popular and composable DAO tools that can be added as plugins into a customizable dashboard that can help you contextualize your operations to your contributors and members. We're currently focusing on 3 big components. The first one is the visualization layer. So you can think of this as the mini multi-sig dashboard that essentially aggregates all your treasury, aggregates all your transactions, and allows you to very easily be able to query things so you can see the right transactions, or you can see at a macro state what's changing. The second component is the DAO plugins. And we're essentially allowing you to onboard different DAO tools such as Superfluid or Snapshot with a slide of a slider. And then you don't need to worry about how you can essentially add the tool into a cohesive experience, or how do you share information from one to the next, where you can essentially enable it and we essentially connect all the dots for you. And then there is the on-chain module, which the easiest way to understand this is a on-chain digital wrapper that essentially allows the DAOs to be in control of all the multi-sigs that belong to the DAO. So here is a change of paradigm of control, which is not 100% the signers who are in control, but is rather a root multi-sig that then has powers over the multi-sigs under it. And this way, we can create very interesting use cases, such as you can inject budget into a multi-sig, and then you can claw it back if you want to. Or if for some reason someone has a problem and loses a private key or access to their wallet, you can essentially change that owner without having to redeploy a new multi-sig. So that address or that address can essentially be static, which is really, really interesting. And some of the more advanced use cases that we want to do is we want to connect Snapshot X to the root multi-sig. So now it's the ERC20 holders who can vote on an off-chain manner and have a mechanism for their decision or their consensus to then be executed trustlessly through Snapshot X, and then be able to then reach any multi-sig that might be under the power of the root multi-sig. All right, so with that, we're gonna go to the live demo. So let me know if you don't see my screen for any reason.
Wow. Okay. So you're solving for a lot. I really love the idea that you're going to have these DAO tool plugins that plug into the overall system. And so, are you going to be providing this directly within your web app, or are you intending to do a white label integration of this as well?
So we're mostly going to do it through a web app, but I'm interested to hear your idea about the white label.
Well, it's just that Bankless Card is creating an ecosystem for people to plug into DAOs in a more easily way, in an easier way. I don't know if you heard my little spiel at the end of that last demo there, but we're essentially using affinity cards as a means of funding DAOs. So people would be able to create a new card, like a debit card, spend, earn on-chain tokens, earn DAO tokens, and then be able to vote with those tokens directly within the app. So part of that is going to be DAO tools that we integrate within the app. Currently we're looking at, how are we going to build that out? But if Palmera is already providing that as a service, maybe that would be something that we as a project would plug into our app, and then we could just add all our DAO tools as we saw fit: snapshot, delegation, staking, etc.
We would love to explore that idea a lot further.
All right, nice.
That sounds really interesting.
This is why we do this.
Awesome.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead. Let's see some live demos.
All right. So here is the welcome page of Palmera. Why don't we deep dive into a specific project like Balancer? I think a lot of people know Balancer. Oops. Well, one second. I think it might be because I'm not logged in. Yeah, let me log in. Awesome. Yeah. All right. So here you can see here's the high level of essentially Balancer. We have two multi-sigs that are displayed here. You can see that as we hover, we see the percentage on the pie chart changing. And we can actually then deep dive into, let's say, the root squad. And we can see a breakdown of all the assets within that specific multi-sig. If I were to be a owner of this multi-sig, I would actually have some other options here. So I can send NFTs and send tokens and that kind of stuff. If we go back to the exploration mode, let's go back to Badger. Hope it works this time. You can see here that Badger actually has a lot more multi-sigs here. We can see actually 5. Again, we can see all the different assets that are aggregated across all the multi-sigs. You can also go and explore this in the Safe app. The nice thing about our system is that we're completely relying on the Safe ecosystem. So if you deployed a Safe multi-sig 3-4 years ago, you can still very easily add it into our system and it will work. And we discussed a lot about the Palmera module or the on-chain module. but that's nothing that you need to add to your organization in order to use the visual only part of the experience. Because what we want to do is essentially we want people to trust us and build some trust with us, and with time, hopefully, they see the benefit of connecting something like a Snapshot X with the root multisig, and then creating this digital wrapper around all their multisigs. So why don't we go into transaction exploration? And here you can essentially see all the transactions across the 5 or 6 different multisigs that Badger has. You can actually filter, and you can filter, by specific multisigs. If you were to have created a hierarchical view, and we can actually do that on another one, you can actually query and see the transactions only for that specific multisig. If we go now, let's go now to another demo organization. I think someone deployed something on the last minute, which is kind of funny. Oh no. Sorry, as we're talking, our devs are still deploying stuff.
Always working in the background, I'm sure.
Yeah. So that's why I think someone did a little deployment there. So here is a little demo DAO that we created between Jose and I. If we actually go to the settings, you can see that this is me, that's Jose. Some of the cool things that you can do with Palmera is that you can actually subscribe to a specific organization or a dashboard. So for example, if you were to subscribe here, and you can do this without you owning any rights on the dashboard itself, you would get a notification every time there's a transaction coming into that set of multisigs that are part of the DAO, or whenever there is something that needs to be signed. And you can configure this essentially in 2 different ways. One of them is you can essentially get messages through EPNS, well, previously known as EPNS is now known as push, which we're actually opt-in right now. Or you can also opt in into native notifications. If you care about decentralization and you care a lot about privacy, and this is essentially the way we recommend this, you can actually do it through push. And if you have push, you'll get the notifications through here, like you can see one here. And here you can also see all the organizations that I'm subscribed to, like AirSwap, DAO, and this specific one. And if we go back,
so just touching on those notifications again. So could you have notifications for, say, if a new snapshot vote was submitted, anybody who holds that token could, or anybody who decided to subscribe to those notifications would be notified?
So that's exactly where we're going. So we want to essentially aggregate all the different accounts of different DAO tools that you might be involved with, and we're providing the right privacy configuration so you can give context to your community, and then your community can stay updated through using something like EPNS, or if they want to do through native OS notifications, they can do that. And we can be that funnel to essentially provide that context to the people.
Amazing. Yeah, that's one of the things that we do have trouble with is actually, voter apathy. And it's not necessarily because they're not interested. It's just that oftentimes they miss the Discord notifications. You get 100 Discord notifications every day. If you're like me, you're in a bunch of different servers, and oftentimes you just miss them. I always see the BanklessDAO ones because I'm active in here all the time, but there are loads of different communities that I miss them on. And if I had some specific channels that were set up to show me new snapshot notifications, new multi-sig sign ready to go, new transaction ready to sign for, those types of things, that would be ideal.
Yeah. I think it should add a lot of value and just essentially increase that stickiness of the community, right? Because I think that every time you do like a context switch, you lose focus, and then kind of getting back into the context can take some time. And the longer you stay out of the game, the harder it is to get back into the game. So I think if people stay up to date on what's happening and essentially they can see how the org is growing and advancing and have like real-time updates on that, is going to be a lot more powerful.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And if we go, let's see. So why don't we then, let's go into a specific transaction. And here, some of the cool stuff that we're adding is that you can add references, you can add tags, you can actually add a description to specific transactions. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you can go a little bit deeper. This is essentially receiving something, but let's look into sending something. Here you can see the number of confirmations, whether it was already executed. You can see the safe transaction hash. You can actually see even more information if you wanted to. We hide all of this information so it's not to overload you. You can actually add comments here. We use Orvis. Everything is done through Ethereum sign-in, so we don't ask you for your email. For us, privacy is quite important. So let's say if we go to the address books, we have a local address book that you can do through a CSV, and it can be only in your computer. And if you feel comfortable, you can add an aliases into the insiders book that then is shared with everyone with a specific permission set. Right now, it's only administrators. In the future, we might have other roles such as payroll or taxes. So they will have only a select few will have access to that sort of information. And if we go to privacy, you can actually make your dashboard completely private. You can change the visibility preferences. So essentially, you can modulate whether someone can find you through the search bar or not. And this is one of the few privacy settings that we're adding. So DAOs can choose how to operate it. We believe that most of the DAOs will be transparent as possible, while still keeping into consideration things like payroll. Perhaps that shouldn't be completely public, and that's really up to the organization itself. And I think as people evolve and they get more organized, the modulation of what's private and what's public will change through time. So we want our dashboards to be able to essentially evolve as the DAO evolves. And with that, perhaps we're gonna show you a quick video of where we're going forward. So it's a little video kind of going over the sort of how the plugins are going to look in the experience, since right now we mostly have the aggregation of many multi-sigs into one view. So over here, you can see 3 different plugins that we're building: Request Finance, SnapshotX, and Superfluid. Currently, we're looking at this dashboard as an insider. That means that it's a group of people that have a bit more context than other people that can be configured up to the DAO. So as we click on Request Finance, here we can see a series of invoices, some of that are paid, some that are not paid. We're first going to click on one that has already been paid. And here you can see the high-level details or the metadata of this specific transaction that essentially we're getting directly from Request Finance. You can actually hit pay on this unpaid invoice. You can select from here a specific multi-sig that you want to initiate the payment through. So here we're going to choose research. You choose research. You can still see all the metadata details here, and then you can actually click send, and you can sign essentially the transaction through here. And this will initiate the multi-sig signature process. Here, because it's a demo, it's not shown, but it would essentially create a multi-sig transaction that then will be funneled through the EPNS notification system, so the other person can then sign it. And whenever they get the notification and they open this, they won't see a normal transaction, but we will enrich the transaction with the metadata from Request Finance. And that way they don't need to then grab the transaction and then go look it up in Request Finance, find it, and then enrich it. But everything is done within one experience. Yep, and you can also get the comments from the community and this kind of things.
Very nice.
Yep,
so
that's it.
Okay, so one of the reasons why we use Safe and other integrations such as Parcel for our multi-sigs is not only are they free, but Parcel even they sponsor our gas fees, and they've been very supportive of us in that way. So that brings to question, what is your profit model? How do you aim to fund yourselves through this?
So that's quite an interesting question. So the way we see it is, as DAOs grow and there's more people essentially contributing, we think that essentially by making the experience slightly faster, there is a potential for us to generate some revenue. However, we believe that it won't, we're going to keep it as a freemium model, and it's only up to when you have maybe 3 or 4 plugins and you're fully using all the plugins, that there is a balance point where we can essentially get some money to pay salaries through there. But if you're on a smaller DAO, something that is maybe not generalizing or utilizing all the plugins, it doesn't make sense. So we're going to follow like a freemium model, where if you use 2 or 3 plugins, it's completely free. But once you start adding more than that, and then you need to configure different privacy rights, then that's an opportunity for us to perhaps generate some cash to pay salaries.
Okay, so you currently don't really have a revenue model built in, but it's all sort of...
No. I mean, we first want to build something cool, right? And we want to build something that empowers the Web3 community. And if we get to that, that would be really, really, really fantastic. We're still, in a way, figuring out what's the best way to move forward. We want to essentially first build something that people really love. And if we do fantastic, then we can think about that later.
Okay, so how have you funded yourselves up to now? Just totally bootstrapped through your own funding, or have you had anybody?
Yeah. In a way. Yeah. So some personal investments from our side. We've been in Web3 for a bit, so that's given us the opportunity to be able to fund this sort of projects, which has been super cool, great opportunity. And yeah.
And have you partnered with anybody up to this point?
Yeah, we actually have a lot of partners. Superfluid, Request Finance, Safe has also been a great supporter. Obviously, Push, Orvis has also helped us quite a bit. Yeah, and there's a couple of other partnerships that we're going to be announcing pretty soon. And now also Bankless, which is amazing.
Yeah, bankless card, maybe.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. But I mean, getting this exposure for us is everything. And for us, the most meaningful thing right now is that we're building something that people use. I think that's what the entire team is shooting for. Yeah, so any sort of feedback that you guys might have, I mean, we're all ears. Here I I added the QR code, so give us a follow, give us feedback. That would be fantastic.
And of your features that you've been releasing so far, is there anything that people have requested that hasn't yet been released? What have been your most requested features?
So currently, the most requested things is the privacy aspect, and I mean, this is where it's always an interesting debate, because we believe transparent DAOs are secure DAOs at 100% at a contract level and at a services level. But then there's always the I guess the argument of payroll and some other things where maybe the DAO is not ready to kind of put that information out there, so they might want to essentially not make everything public and kind of creating the tooling so they have the capacity to show things and slowly be able to show everything they have as they feel comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so transparency over time rather than just straight up transparency.
Yeah, we
interesting.
believe decentralization should be progressive. I think the more you can do, the better. But from just empirical experience, it seems like a lot of people kind of start maybe a bit more private mode, and then as they feel more comfortable, they kind of start showing more and more and more. So in the same way that, you know, Webflow, fantastic tool, you don't kind of put your landing page first if it's not finalized, but you want to finalize it and then show it. So we're thinking about kind of this tooling the same way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and in terms of your plugins, if somebody wanted to create a plugin or wanted to partner with you to create a plugin, do you just use an API that integrates with their existing tooling, or how would that work?
I love the question. So Q1 2024, we want to release our SDK. So essentially what we're doing is we're first creating the first party plugins, and we want to use this experience to figure out what is the right way to generalize the framework. So then other developers can do it and set up a standard. So if someone else was to do this, they could also leverage the same plugins.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, that would be cool because, you know, there's so many tools that are being built currently, and from the different platforms that we've had on here for DAO management, it seems to be more of a profit based on transactions model, and there are freemium options out there, like, you know, you have under 100 transactions in a month, you get it for free. Anything over that, you pay X amount, or it's just a small fee for every transaction. And what you're building is not necessarily something that's going to leverage the transactions, but leverage the tools that are being built themselves. So you're building a tool shed. That's what I like.
Correct. Yeah. The DAO tool aggregation. That's how we like to say it, but it's a bit of a handful.
Yeah, I explained it to my dad earlier. He said he was going to hitch a trailer to the back of his truck and go pick something up. And I said, I'm going to interview Nation 3 and Palmera, and I explained both of you. And he said, that's all gobbledygook to me. You know, so it's hard for people to understand these concepts if they don't deal with them on a daily basis. But for those of us who do use them, it is a major game changer. DAO tooling aggregation. That's a great way to summarize it.
Well, it makes both of us very happy to hear that, because you know, when you're putting so much effort on stuff, and the thing with the tool is that it's actually a lot of development work. I mean, we love doing it, but at some point it's like getting that validation that people actually want it. You know, that for us is the most important thing, because, you know, kind of we're both builders. I mean, we started working together because we participated in a bunch of hackathons, and we always love working together. And for us, it's always kind of like, oh, are we building something that people are going to use, right? So for us, it means a lot that you say that.
Perfect. Well, I'm happy that I could corroborate that. And you know, CryptoDad mentions in the comments, can I summarize Palmera as a platform that links different third-party tools into one place? And I think pretty much that's exactly what we just summed up there. So yeah exactly that, a DAO tooling aggregator.
A composable DAO tool aggregator.
Composable, yeah.
Because if you are unhappy with us, then you can keep using the other tools independently.
That's very true. That's interesting. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so it aligns the incentives where, like, if we're doing a good job and we're going to make sure we do a good job. We will make your life easier by just putting everything together. And if not, well, you can continue in an independent way and you didn't lose any time. So that's great.
And for the non-DAO natives out there, you can just call it a DAO tool shed.
There you go.
There's your another new tagline for you.
Don't trademark that yet.
I'll let you have that one. You can keep that.
Thank you. Freebie for us.
Nice. Okay. Well, we're at the end of our time here today. I really appreciate you both coming on stage and presenting. Is there anything that you'd like to add, especially how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, the best way right now is just through Twitter, or you can also book a demo in our landing page, and we'll be super happy to talk to you. Yeah, and any feedback is great feedback. I mean, obviously, societies have been evolving for, millennia and for a long time. So in the DAO experiment, it's essentially evolving really rapidly. So for us, quite important that we know people's opinions and seeing how they're seeing the evolution of this new human experiment. So yeah, any feedback would be fantastic. Twitter is the best way. Scan the QR code and give us a follow. We would highly appreciate it.
Amazing. All right. Well, thanks again to both of you for joining. Thanks to everybody in the crowd, and thanks for those who watch this later on in the Fight Club YouTube channel. So with all that said, I just want to remind everybody that none of this is financial investment, legal tax, or any other kind of advice. We're here building and just jamming with our fellow builders. Thanks to everybody out there listening. Thanks to our aligned contributors and everybody who makes this space go around. Really loving building here with all of you. And yeah, can't wait to see you at the next demos next week. So until next time, love you lots.